All right, look, let's cut the fluff. If your ad budget feels bloated, well then, bloated is probably exactly what it is. Dealers everywhere seem to be spending big and getting little. And most of the time, they don't even know what they're really getting. So if you feel like you're burning through ad dollars on people who aren't even shopping, then guess what? This episode is for you. This is the show that will make your ad dollars go farther. This is the show that will turn your ad dollars from an expense to an investment that pays immediate returns and dividends. This is the episode that will teach you how to tell if you're really making money from your advertising. This is Follow the Money.
Follow the Money is brought to you by Cars Commerce, empowering local dealerships with solutions to simplify and scale their businesses.
Welcome back to Follow the Money, where we don't chase shiny objects and sign up for every new tool out there. We tell you exactly how to make money. I'm your host, Frank Lopes, president of Strong 30 Automotive, where we help dealers crush their goals with the best marketing, advertising, and sales training. And in this episode, we're getting brutally honest about your advertising. Because look, if you're spending money on people who aren't even in market, or you're blindly dumping your budget into platforms because that's like what everyone else does, if you found yourself signing up for every shiny object you ran into on the expo floor at NADA because you really have no idea what to do, then look, you're not just wasting money, you're handing opportunities and profit to your competitors. Now, to help us break this all down, I've got my man Ron Andrews, Vice President of Media and Digital Solutions at Cars Commerce. He's been in the trenches since Dealer Inspire was just a thought and a vision. And now he's setting the bar on what smart, simplified, results-driven advertising actually looks like and how dealers are tapping into it to make money. So if you're tired of overspending, underperforming, and being completely aggravated with your advertising and marketing, guess what? This episode is the one for you. And friends, if this is the first episode that you're catching, welcome. But hey, do yourself a favor, go back and check out the last 4. Each one seems to be building on the last, okay? And trust me, you can message me later on and you can thank me for telling you that right now. Now, I'm really excited to jump into it here, but before we do, let me remind you to drop your thoughts in the comments during the show, okay? Start off with answering some questions like, what's your ad budget look like right now? Are you getting the results that you expect? Or are you just like kind of spending to spend? Drop those answers in the comments right now and let's get right into it. Ron, my friend, Ron, welcome. Welcome to Follow the Money. It's great to have you here, sir.
Thanks for having me here, Frank. I'm glad to be here.
People didn't come here to hear me and you give each other flowers and listen to us chatter and talk to each other about how awesome we are and stuff like that. That's not what they're looking for, okay? They came here to learn how to use their ad dollars to make money. So, my man, let's give them a playbook to follow, okay? And let's start off with this. Dealership advertising, Ron, it's developed tremendously over the last 10 years. So has the pressure to spend. How can dealers make sure that they're not wasting money going after the wrong people?
Yeah, I mean, look, some of the capabilities in advertising have come a long way in the last 10 years. I think what's surprising to me is to see that for many dealers, their strategies haven't changed all that much. And maybe most importantly, where they're spending their ad dollars. And I think that's fundamentally what needs to change for them to get greater efficiency and greater performance out of every dollar that they're putting in. I think it all comes down to audience and making sure that you're targeting customers based on some of the shopping behaviors that they're exhibiting, where they're at in their shopping journey, whether they've done business with you in the past or not. All of those signals help enrich the data that you're using to advertise and market to the individual, not just to the keyword, not just to the click, not just to the impression. Ultimately, there's people on the other side of that you need to make sure that your message is resonating with and that you are reaching and influencing them at all of those critical moments along that shopping journey.
We're not even 5 minutes into the show, And I've already got like 10 things written down on my notes on things to talk about. There is a tremendous amount of confusion on what is the most important metric. If you're going to take it and you're going to boil it all down, you're going to get a lot of dealers out who are going to say to you, well, nothing matters more than selling cars. And I agree. If we don't sell cars, we can't generate any gross. If we don't generate any gross, we can't pay any bills. So I'm good with that. But in reality, that can't just be it. We have to really look at every single step that we take from the first dollar that gets invested. If you wanted to go from beginning to end, what are the 3 most important metrics for a dealer to actually be looking at each and every month?
Yeah, I think most dealers would tell you that if they paid attention to every report that they got from every one of their providers of various software tools or advertising tactics, and how many cars they're trying to take credit for helping to sell, they'd probably be selling 3 or 4x what they actually are. So you got to be able to cut through the noise, and you got to make sure that you have a reliable attribution model that you've developed for your store based on your marketing mix, based on your technology stack, and ultimately like where you're spending all of those dollars. With some of the things that have happened in GA4 now, you have an opportunity to understand key engagements at a greater level and how all of the tools that are either on your website or all the investments you're making across marketplaces or various places you're advertising online can actually tell you a more holistic story of what the consumer journey looks like and how effective your advertising is at meeting them in the critical moments that you need to. So you got to make sure that your key events are really dialed in GA4, and that is encompassing all of the different places and interactions that a consumer may have with your brand, because then you can start to understand where is there potential overlap and you can find efficiencies, what's actually performing the greatest, so you can optimize for additional conversions or additional engagements that are leading indicators of selling and servicing more cars. And I think ultimately you got to make sure that you don't have vendors that are putting things on your website that directly compete for attribution and ultimately water down the consumer experience. You got to make things simple and easy. And I think too often we're making it overly complicated for the consumer. So if you really just look at, one, what your marketing mix looks like and how you're spending dollars across channels. 2, what are the key engagements and KPIs that you're measuring as part of that? And then 3, where are conversions coming from at a platform level? And that could be your website, that could be a marketplace, that could be different advertising channels. Those are the 3 things that if you anchor into and you optimize around, you'll start to better understand what's working and what's not.
Let's talk about the G word. Let's talk about the Google budget. A lot of dealers, they pour the majority of their dollars right into Google. In your view, is that a smart strategy? Is it a lazy habit? And what does a balanced, optimized portfolio even look like today? Or is there even such a thing?
I don't think it's anything necessarily of dealers being lazy. Coming from the retail side, dealers are some of the hardest working people that I've ever met in my life. The instant sort of gratification that comes with putting money into Google, I think, is what everybody gets addicted to. And the thing is the more money you put into Google, they'll find ways to give themselves credit for generating more users, more clicks, more conversions. But how many of those would you have gotten anyways? So what happens is dealers get oversaturated in Google Ads and they end up cannibalizing other channels. They end up paying for customers to get to their website that they would have gotten anyways. And I think that's where it starts to become extremely inefficient. Now, the right marketing mix is going to vary depending on your store, your brand, your market, but you need to have some great partners that can help you take in a lot of different data and a lot of different insights to understand what the right mix is for your store. The vast majority of dealers that we work with come to us and they're spending about 80% plus of their digital advertising budget on Google. I can tell you for any dealer in the country, that is way too much. And the dealers and the groups that we're seeing really be successful right now, especially with all of the macroeconomic factors, a little bit of a downturn in demand, like all of that, are actually optimizing for top of funnel. And the reason for that is because when you can reach and influence customers earlier on in their consumer journey, every single ad that you touch them with after that is significantly less expensive because everything kind of becomes retargeting at that point. So it's all about how you can build audiences of consumers at the beginning of their shopping process because then if you're running really well with programmatic tactics and strategies, you can hit them every step along the way. It's significantly more efficient, and it's significantly better performing. Dealers right now are hearing a lot about ways that they should be doing that, and a lot of it's being driven through their website. I think you need to actually get earlier on in the process than just customers visiting your website, because there's a lot of in-market shoppers that are undecided of what they want to buy and where they want to buy from, that are actually going to a marketplace first. And that's where we're able to empower our dealers to really turbocharge their advertising strategies.
I think there was a bunch of dealers that as soon as you just said, you were getting that customer anyway, you were getting that click anyway. I think there were a bunch of them that went, I knew it. I knew it. I knew it was getting it. I knew that was going on, but I was listening to this guy or that guy or this gal, or I was listening to this guy on this podcast and he said that, blah, blah. I feel, right, personally, I feel that Google search has almost become newspaper of yesterday when you're looking in the dealer's eyes. And this is what I mean. The dealer used to be able on a Sunday to go down to the corner, buy a newspaper, look and see their ad. And then if they saw their ad, they think everybody else in the universe saw the ad. And now it's the exact same thing with Google search. If they go on their phone or if they go to their computer, boom, they see themselves, they're like, check, okay, I'm good. But in reality, that top of funnel, again, is still dramatically important. I think there was a big surge over the last, let's say, 8 to 10 years of everybody saying, no, you only want to go after the customer when they're looking for your type of dealership. I don't know about you, Ron, but I was calling you know what all the way back then. Like, man, if you're doing it then, it's almost as though as if you're too late. What do you say about that?
Yeah, and the lower you get in the funnel, it's infinitely more expensive. So that's a problem in itself, because dealers need to be smarter with their advertising budgets today than ever before. Especially as we're seeing profit margins and things start to constrict a bit. But you're absolutely right. There's definitely some legacy strategies, and there's probably a little bit of vanity in some of the things that that any advertiser does still to this day. But you want to be efficient, and anytime you're just focusing on any one channel or any one part of the funnel too greatly, you're going to be inefficient. You're not going to be able to diversify. And the other really interesting thing that's happening right now is the way that consumers are searching online and the way that they're making decisions of like websites they're going to visit, what they're going to purchase. A lot of that's taking place off of search engines and within ChatGPT and other, AI-based platforms. So I'd say for dealers right now, if your strategy is majority focused on Google search, you're missing out on opportunities to hit the customer at the bottom of the funnel now today. And that's only going to get worse as more and more platforms are starting to take the lion's share of search behavior.
And not only that, as the Google search page continues to evolve, a lot of people don't see what's actually going on. They don't see that if you ask Google a question, you can no longer be on the very, very top of the search results page, because there's a whole AI section in there now with Google AI that's answering questions for you. Now, is it every single question? No, obviously not. But I don't know about you, Ron, but it looks like it's the majority of it.
Yeah, and people don't really scroll all that far down. So you got to create influence, and you got to be able to reach consumers earlier on. As I said, dealers have kind of avoided top of the funnel strategies for a long time. And if you look at what Google's done with PMax, they've basically said, hey, just give us an allocation and trust us that we're going to spend that where we need to get in front of your shoppers. And what PMax does is it actually just diversifies the dealer's media mix to be more top of funnel anyways. So they basically said, look, like advertisers aren't doing this for whatever reason. We're just going to do it for you. And I think, again, that's where like you got to have a really good partner on your side to help you build your own strategy. I would never just want to put dollars into the machine and hope that I'm going to get the outcomes that I want. I want to be in the driver's seat of that.
One of the questions that I get the most, Ron, and I swear, if I had $1 for every time I got this question, I'd have a lot of dollars. Okay, let's put it that way. Well, I'm thinking about cutting one of the third parties. Which one do you think I should cut? And I always answer with the exact same answer, which is, I don't think you can actually cut any of them. Each one of them have a different audience. Each one of them are delivering traffic to the website. I think instead of saying which one should I cut, I think we should be talking about why are you thinking about cutting one? instead of like which one should I cut? Is it true or is it not true, Ron, that in this day and age and in the customers' buying habits and their searching habits and everything, is there one that actually could be cut, and should dealers just be saying, okay, I got to kind of be on all of them?
Marketplaces are absolutely a critical component of any dealer's marketing mix. And I think fundamentally, you need to be everywhere that a car shopper is. And if you are limiting yourself as far as where you're advertising your vehicles to and the amount of customers that are in market that you're reaching, you're leaving some money on the table. And ultimately, you need to have the right partners too that are going to help you maximize that marketplace investment. And I think for what we do at cars.com and Cars Commerce, we are always trying to empower our dealers. So we offer not only opportunities for our dealers to get in front of our in-market audience on our marketplace, but also to leverage that audience through our retail media network, through all of their advertising efforts as well. And I think that's something that's really unique for what we're doing. And ultimately, I think it's helping our best dealers really drive significantly greater performance and efficiency in all of their ad spend. But you got to be smart about where you're investing your dollars without a doubt. But I think dealers often are quick to cut the wrong things, and it's not always data driven. And I ultimately think that's where like sometimes like it falls apart when you're just pulling the plug on things that ultimately end up working really well for you.
Ron, do me a favor, stretch out. You started to describe in Cars Commerce, you started to describe a lot of the, I'm just going to call them the extras, because that's what the dealers call them when they look at them on reports and everything like that. They call them the extras. Explain to us all, right? Once again, like you're speaking to a small child or a golden retriever. Explain what the extras are and why it is that they are so impactful, and why, if a dealer was going to pick, so to say, just one of the extras that are offered by Cars Commerce, which one should they pick?
I'll start off really quick just in maybe highlighting some of the things that we do as a marketplace that's a little bit different. So one, we generate over 60% of our traffic organically. I know for dealers, they're looking at how they can be efficient with their advertising spend, and you probably don't want the marketplaces that you're investing in competing with you at the same time. So we generate majority of our traffic organically, and that's really important because organic traffic, dealers would agree with this just by looking in their own data, is typically the highest quality and the most engaged. But the unique thing that we are doing in bringing traffic into our site is also leveraging all of our great editorial content. So not only are we letting customers shop for vehicles and consider different options and obviously connect with dealers, but we're also giving them editorial content to learn more about the vehicles, to learn more about leasing and financing, but also to educate them so that way they can make the most informed decision. Now, all of that means that we're generating better audience data at the same time, because now I understand more about that shopper than if they just came to my site to look at a car. I understand what are their particular interests, what are they considering as far as an ICE versus an EV, what are they cross-shopping between as far as make, model, trim level, color, all of those things, right? So being able to then take all of that and leverage it as part of your advertising strategy is really, really key, because you have high quality intent in market shoppers. I'd say the one thing that dealers should absolutely be doing is making sure that they are reaching those consumers after they leave the marketplace. And we offer a very, very quick, easy turnkey solution to be able to do that. We call it VIN Performance Media. Basically, somebody comes to the site, we're going to take your cars, we're going to actually promote them in front of the right shoppers based on their search behavior. And then anybody that just sees those cars, maybe they don't click into them, maybe they don't submit a lead, we're going to make sure that we keep those cars in front of that consumer across all the other places that they might go online. So you're getting multiple opportunities to make sure that that consumer gets a chance to interact with your car. Now, if you're looking at used vehicle sales, those kind of things, I think it's a really easy way to make sure that you are getting incremental leads and incremental opportunities to move more units.
You see, dealers, you're watching right now, and just hear me now, these are not the extras. These are the necessities. If you really want to get the most out of the dollars that you're investing, these are not like, a little gravy on the mashed potatoes. No. This is the taste. This is the seasoning. This is exactly what's there, that if you're missing it, you're going to actually feel that you're missing it. Let's leave everybody with this. You've seen it all. Okay, so I'm going to ask this very, very plainly. What's that one thing that you wish that they would actually have in there? And I'm going to give you a follow-up question. What's one thing that you wish they would finally stop?
I think the one thing I wish more dealers would do, and I'm going to specifically speak to the marketplace customers that we have at cars.com, is to leverage our inventory search ads product. If you have not heard of that, please connect with your rep at our company. They will tell you all about it. But look, dealers spend a lot of money on paid search. We talked a lot about that at the beginning of this episode. We've actually built a search-based inventory product that lives directly on the marketplace that allows you to promote the right cars in front of the right shoppers. And it is a CPC model. So you actually are only going to pay if a consumer actually engages with those cars. Very similar model to Google,
Say that
except
part again. Say that part again.
they're
Say
only
it
going to
really, really
pay
clear. You're
if
only
a
going to
customer
pay.
actually engages with your car. That's a great thing about it. And look, like we talk a lot about a search engine. Cars.com is the best automotive search engine. You have to be there. It's precious real estate. You have to make sure that you get your fair share of it. So that's the number one thing that I want to see more dealers using, because I think it's one of the most efficient ad products that exists in the automotive industry today, and we are constantly optimizing around that.
Absolutely. And what about that? What about that one thing that you wish dealers would finally stop doing for good?
I think dealers need to stop spending their money on broadcast television. And I know that that can be effective in some cases, but ultimately, I think some of the opportunities with programmatic video are so substantial that any positive return you are seeing from broadcast television can be offset and then some by having a really strong programmatic video strategy. Most consumers nowadays are cutting the cord in some capacity. But most importantly, when you advertise through online video, CTV, OTT, et cetera, you're able to actually measure the ROI more effectively, and you're able to apply actual audience sets to your strategy. So as an example, if you want to make sure that all of your video or TV dollars are actually reaching consumers that are in market for a car, you can do that with programmatic video campaigns. You cannot do that with broadcast television. You also have an opportunity to reach a consumer in significantly more places on more glass that they have both in their home and in their hand. That would be the thing that you just need to shift your investment. Or if you're not doing any video strategy today, start making that investment. When we talked about building audience, when we talked about reaching and influencing consumers earlier on in the shopping journey, programmatic video strategy is one of the best ways to do that.
And I'll put this in even simpler terms of the way that I like. There's no way to be able to take somebody that was, say, for example, on your website, looking at cars, regardless of how up high or low they were in the funnel, they were on your website looking at cars. And then later on, when they're consuming media a different way, like we all do, right? You can actually put your message in front of them. You can't do that with buying spots on, for example, Fox News or CNN. You can't do that when you're buying spots on, on the NBA playoff game. But you can do that through programmatic, through cars.com, through Cars Commerce. And I don't think there's anything better than that. Like we spend all this money because, Ron, dealers are not going to stop advertising on Google because we just said so in the last 31 minutes. Like, that's not going to happen. They're still going to do it. But how about the idea of spending a little bit, like I'm talking about a little bit compared to what you're spending on Google, take a little bit and invest it into showing a message to that customer that was on your website when they're later on, when they're consuming media a different way. I don't think you can get a better bang for the buck, honestly, than that. And you want to talk about spending money in a way that is going to be effective. I don't think you're going to find anything more effective than that. Ron, your final word, and let everybody know how they can find you and how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, I think my final word that I would say for all the dealers that are listening is just stop guessing. Right now, there's a lot of pressure on the industry. I like to look at that as opportunity. The dealers who are really winning right now are the ones that are just really dialed into their data, the audience that they're using to power all of their advertising, and how they're optimizing their digital platform to get the outcomes that they want. And they're doing that in a very data-driven way. So if that's something that you feel like you need some help with, please reach out to me directly. You can reach me on LinkedIn. You can email me at randrews@cars.com. Happy to help anybody that just wants to have a conversation about some of these things, learn a little bit more about how they can get the right outcomes for all of their advertising dollars, how they can spend their money a little bit more effectively, and optimize to all of the innovation that's happening in the advertising space right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. And friends, let's wrap this up the right way with me telling you this. If your advertising strategy isn't producing leads, calls, and sales, my friends, it's not a strategy. It's a sacrifice to the media gods. You're just paying the money like as if it's a sacrifice. What Ron shared today is the real roadmap. Simplify your platforms, sharpen your focus, and chase real in-market buyers with tools that actually work. Okay? Hit the link in the show notes to learn more about Cars Commerce Media. Make sure, absolutely make sure that you reach out to Ron with any type of questions that you may have. Share this episode with your GM, your marketing director, your ad agency. Share it with your whole team. Why not, right? And while you're at it, make sure that you come back here each and every single week, because every episode of Follow the Money is a masterclass in dealer profitability. I'm Frank Lopes, and this is Follow the Money. We'll see you on the next one. Ron, my friend, absolutely fantastic. Thank you for sharing with the audience.
Thank you for having me.